PTF and JK back with you with a new Kentucky Derby Top 10 video brought to you by our friends at DK Horse. Make sure you download the DK Horse app today. We've got a new number one. We've got a new number two. We're going to get to all of it. We want to hear who your number one horse is. Make sure you hit us up in the comments. And while you're there, while you're on this page, make sure that you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our YouTube exclusive content. Like this video, we'll start with the big news. Ted Nafi turns out will not be participating in this year's Kentucky Derby. A surprise, certainly, but we talked about this before when we were talking about, why you might not want to take single-digit odds at this stage on a runner like Ted Nafi, despite his impressive resume. What was your reaction to the news that Ted Nafi will not be competing, JK?
Well, the same reaction I have every year when we lose a big horse. It seems like it happens every year. There's a horse that is this year, you're meant to be excited about. I can tell you one thing. I physically can appreciate it a little bit more when it happens this early. It's that night before week of defection that really is unfortunate. So I'm glad to know that Ted's okay. We'll hopefully get a later campaign out of him, a 3-year-old campaign later this summer.
That's the plan as it stands now. One horse that's not on this list that will surprise a lot of people, Litmus Test. He'll be competing in the Southwest Stakes, rescheduled from those chilling temperatures in Arkansas. That race happening this week now. I would imagine he will either be appearing on this list or just simply stay off it based on the result of that and what he does. But let's get into this top 10. We start off with number 10, Commandment. This is the horse that won the Mucho Macho Man. He is on track to run in the Fountain of Youth at the end of February and was back on the work tab this weekend. Quick thought on Commandment, JK?
Yeah, look, he's come from the right connections with Brad Cox. It's one of those horses that I thought his Mucho Macho Man was pretty good. I thought his figure was pretty nice in that race. He seems to be one that's trending in the right direction, going in the right direction. He's an into mischief. Our friends at Spendthrift, they'll remind you, leading sire for many years. And I think that this is one that shouldn't have any problem with some added distance, and he'll have to pass that next test in the Fountain of Youth.
Number 9 on the list, Golden Tempo. We spoke about him recently off that Lecomte win. Nothing really to add since then, but certainly a horse that's generating some buzz. We love the pedigree. I think he needs to get faster based on that 84 buyer. Anything to add on Golden Tempo?
Yeah, when we get to the top horse in here, that horse ran 10 points faster than Golden Tempo. This horse just too slow at this point. Now, he can continue to progress, but right now, 84, not going to get this Derby done.
You want to talk about big figures. You mentioned about the big figure win that came out of this weekend. Well, that figure was matched as a 2-year-old by Napoleon Solo, next on the list. Last time we talked about him was sort of a, well, where's he been kind of thing. Well, he's back on the work tab at Palm Meadows with 3 works, no stated target, but lots of options for this one.
Yeah, I'd be curious if this was by design to kind of get him back a little bit late. This feels like a late start, but some might argue a Champagne winner, this might not be that late of a start. So it depends on how you want to look at it. We'll see if he can roll the right direction. But you have a horse who runs as well as he did, undefeated in the Champagne. He has to be on your top 10 Derby list.
We should have a sound effect for new additions to the list, and we could play it now because number 7, Canaletto, makes his debut. This is based on the maiden win from January 25th, earning an impressive 89 buyer speed figure, but probably more impressive. Look at this one's bloodlines into mischief out of a distorted humor mare, and the visual impression the horse gave. No public target has been stated, but sure seems like the Fountain of Youth might make sense for this one, owned by the potent partnership of Peter Brant and Coolmore.
Yeah, it looks like they got another good one. They've got Paladin already, the same connections. Keep an eye on this horse. Chad Brown typically does not like to run his horses 2 times on the main track at Gulfstream. So I would imagine that this horse will probably find his next start somewhere else. We'll see about that. Very impressive horse. He ran the Sunday after the Pegasus, got a nice figure, and seems to be another one that's going to continue to trend in the right direction. And when you see Peter Brant and Coolmore going in together on a colt, they're not looking for any sprinters. These pedigrees and the money they're spending on these horses is to make stallions and to do it with horses that have the pedigree to go long.
Tampa might make sense for that one's next start. We'll see what they decide to do. Number 6 on the list is Blackout Time. This is another one that we've had these, interesting prospect, but where has he been? Especially with this one, where has he been question when we were asking had extra significance because he was coming off the vets list, still technically on the vets list, needs to work. I think it's 5 furlongs down there before being eligible to come off it, but that might be happening real soon because he's had 2 works, a 3 furlong and a 4 furlong, and connections seem very happy with Blackout Time. Where are you with him?
Yeah, he was a buzz horse going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Unfortunately, he was scratched that week. Kenny McPeak knows his way around the first Friday and first Saturday in May, as he did with Mystic Dan and Torpedo Anno a few years back. Excuse me. I do think that this is one that could thrust himself to the front of the list, but he's going to have to get faster. And he's going to have to prove it to us and make sure that whatever happened to him Breeders' Cup week isn't going to be something that's lingering.
That's 6 through 10. We got 5 more for you coming right up. I will say we're going to have a podcast version of this show. We'll get Eric DeCoster, our man who puts together this actual list, to sit down with me. We'll go in depth and ask him all kinds of questions. One question I want to ask him is about number 5 here, Englishman. You can catch that, by the way, in the Money Players podcast, wherever you get your pods. Englishman's a horse I've been very intrigued by, but is it maybe getting late early for this horse? I mean, here's the good news. Back on the work tab now, January 29th, with a leg stretcher, 3 and a 39.20. Time kind of irrelevant for that first work back, but it's just the fact that there's only been 1 work. I really am interested in this horse and what he's capable of. I'm very curious to follow his progression along, but one that if I was making the list, I might have just further down because of those attended questions at this point, but could still be a player on this Kentucky Derby trail.
When you have a horse like Napoleon Solo who wins a grade 1 and then goes to the shelf, that makes sense. When you have a horse that wins their maiden and then goes to the shelf, there likely was some sort of an issue there, but good to see Englishman back on the work tab. Definitely one that might be a little bit kind of cramming for that exam, but in Cherie, I trust. I think this could be a good one. He deserves to be on the list, but I agree with you, probably a little bit too high with some of the uncertainty.
Number 4, Further Ado, another one that has a say in terms of the speed figure conversation, having that 98 on the resume. We know the target now, Tampa Bay on March 7th. Tampa Bay Downs looking to make that graded stakes return to the races. How serious of a contender is he for you at this point?
He is a big contender. I think if you can win a stake as a 2-year-old, you're in the mix until you're not. And I think Further Ado is one of those. He's in the right connections with Brad Cox. We'll see if Irad sticks around for now as the waters get a little bit deeper. Sometimes these jockeys' commitments can take them elsewhere where they aren't able to stick with a horse. But we'll see. Definitely one that I would want to have in the mix. I'm a little concerned that his last figure dipped down from that figure 2 back. But when you have these lightly raced horses, that can happen from time to time. I would want to see him kind of get back to that 2 back number to take him as seriously as number 4.
Sometimes in sports, we make decisions in rankings like this based on default or based on horses that come off the list and you get to move up a spot. I think that's what's going on here with number 3, Brant. I'm not saying this horse isn't a contender. It does have that 1-turn 101 figure on the resume and back and ramping up by Baffert standards slowly. For any other trainer, these would be, quick works right off the layoff. 2 workouts now, both in 48.40. Interestingly, I saw in a piece that Ed DeRosa wrote online for Horse Racing Nation that the AI they're using actually have Brand as the favorite at this point. Right now, he sits at number 3. You and I have both been a little bit skeptical if he really wants to go this Derby distance. Is that where you are still?
It feels like to me this is kind of a hope ranking, right? They're hoping that Brant turns out to be who he is. You don't want to miss the party. You want to be predictive in some of these. It's not the most fun to just say here's 1 through 10 because this is what we've seen. Having a horse in here that kind of is a this is what I think is going to happen is also exciting. What these lists are for. I think that's why Brant ends up here. We'll see what he does in his next performance. He's got the right connections. He costs enough money. We'll see if he appreciates added distance.
That's a really important point you make. It's not a ranking of the resumes to this point. When Eric puts these lists together, he's thinking who is going to be 1 through 10 on the first Saturday in May. And he thinks Brant's going to develop clearly to have him this high. Number 2, Paladin. This was the horse that topped my list when I did my 2-year-old analysis back in November. If I were making this list, he would probably be on top for me. This Remsen winner looks a lot like other horses from Chad Brown who have done well on the Triple Crown Trail. Zandon and Sierra Leone had very similar past performance cuts to this point. They both competed in the Risen Star. I expect Paladin will be competing in the Risen Star on Valentine's Day. How high are you when it comes to Paladin?
Well, Pete, I think in our 10-year friendship, we can count on one hand our arguments we've had. One of them is how good and productive the Remsen is. I used to be right. You used to be wrong, but now you're right because of horses like Dornick, Sierra Leone, maybe Paladin, and we'll see what Renegade does. I think the race actually has gotten a little bit better than it has been in the past. I think Paladin running as well as he did, going that mile and an eighth, screams a horse that's going to love added distance. We'll see if Chad can get him to continue to progress just like he did with Sierra Leone.
Number 1 on the list, meet the new boss, same as the old boss in terms of who's calling the shots, Todd Pletcher. And nearly, this was an impressive run, I thought, in the Holy Bull. The figure came back a 98 on the buyer scale, but there was also a way he did it aspect. It looked to me like he was running fast throughout this race with a perfectly efficient run. I think he'd be able to crack that century buyer mark and really be a player. I get it. I understand why Eric put this horse at number 1. What did you think of his run in the Holy Bull?
I thought it was pretty impressive. You know, I had mentioned him in our previous top 10. I'm doing a little Derby fantasy league. I drafted nearly with my first pick. And also, just another aside, it's really fun. I think a fun thing about racing. One of my wife's best friends has been coming to Saratoga a little bit. Her brother was friendly with the people from Centennial. They bought into their first group of horses, and it just so happens to be that Nearly is in that group. So you talk about beginner's luck. They were at the Florida, not at the Florida Derby, at the Holy Bull, having a lot of fun. So I'm rooting for Nearly for that reason. But I also think Nearly's a pretty talented horse. He's got to get a little bit faster. This is exactly what I told Sarah. He's got to get a little bit faster if he wants to win a Derby. But getting a 95 in January has you trending in the right direction to crack those triple-digit buyers.
Good stuff. We want to hear who your number 1 would be or your top 10, whatever you want to tell us. Drop it down in the comments. We are going to be back with more Kentucky Derby coverage soon. Got prep races coming up. Subscribe to that In the Money channel. Drop us a like as well. That'll help us out. And make sure you support our friends over at DK Horse. Download the DK Horse app today.